frustrated right now. Swear, okay.
If you could fix one thing about the Philippines, what would it be?
Top of my head, our president's mouth.
Wow, that's interesting. If you could change one thing in the Philippines, you'll change the president's mouth. It's like poverty or like unemployment or stuff. It's really the president's mouth. Like that's the main problem for you. Okay, let's continue.
By a show of hands, who here supports the current administration?
Wow, 3 people supports the administration. Well, I want to answer this from a Christian standpoint. It's actually our job to support the government. It's our job to support our leaders. Actually, there's a verse. Let me search it. Okay, here, I found it. Romans 13. It says here, all of you must obey the government rulers. Everyone who rules was given the power to rule by God. So anyone who is against the government is really against something God has commanded. Those who are against the government bring punishment on themselves. People who do right don't have to fear the rulers, but those who do wrong must fear them. The Bible has been very clear about us supporting our rulers, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we support all the bad stuff they do or all their mistakes. But rulers will commit mistakes. No one is spared from making mistakes, and supporting them doesn't mean that we're celebrating their mistakes or celebrating their wrongdoings. But I think that as Christians, it is primarily our role to support and pray for our leaders because God has a purpose why He placed those leaders in position in the first place. So I think it should not be a surprise if you see a Christian person saying, okay, I support the government. Doesn't mean I agree to everything they do. Doesn't mean I celebrate all their mistakes. It only means that I'm doing my job, that as a Christian, my role is to pray for the government, pray for righteousness to rule in the government, pray for integrity to rule and reign in the government, pray for wisdom so that our leaders would make the right decision. That's our role as a church and as Christians. Anyway, let's continue.
What is one word to describe President Duterte?
Slow. Rough.
A failure.
I think I'd go with strategic.
A failure, wow. I mean, no offense to that girl who said that, but come on. He's not a failure. He has done a lot of good things as well. I'm not saying he did everything right, and I'm not saying he's perfect. He's far from perfect. I surely have a lot of comments also about how things were done and how policies are being made and stuff, but to call him a failure, that's just, for me, that's a poor generalization. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion.
Sick. Realistic.
Sick.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I actually, one of the 16 million actually voted for him. He's far from a perfect president, but he gets the job done. The president may have done wrong, but we also have to point out and give credit where credit is due, especially the fact that the previous administration's problems were carried over to the president, and he has to basically shoulder the burden as well.
I agree with that statement. Like, he's done some quote-unquote good things. As a college student, I'm also feeling the effects of the Universal Free Tertiary Education Act, but we also have to be critical of what these acts entail. The Free Tertiary Education Act, yes, we appreciate it. As a college student, I really appreciate it because I'm not paying anything. The thing with that is, it's just for the tertiary level. Every good thing that Duterte does almost has a caveat to it, and it's unfortunate that it's that way, but it is the way it is, and that's why I personally don't support Duterte at all.
Okay, see, I have a problem with that. So you're enjoying free education and you say that you don't support Duterte because only in the college level, tertiary level, whatever, it's not really free for everyone. But it's free for you, man. If you're enjoying it, why don't you be supportive? Or you know what, I have a better idea. Why don't you study hard and go be a lawyer, go run for Senate, and then be a president one day? This is crazy. It's like you're benefiting from this government that is giving you free education, and yet you're very outspoken to say that you don't support it at all. What do you want, bro? Would you rather not be able to go to school and have a president or have government officials that you like? If you're grateful, just be grateful. And I think the best way to show gratefulness is not to be pacified by the government. I mean, you can say all the things that you don't like about it, sure, But at the end of it, if you're not supportive of the government that you are benefiting from, I mean, that's problematic. That's certainly questionable for me. Like, if that's not entitlement, I don't know what to call that. Okay, I could understand that you don't agree with all the methods and all the ways they run the government, but to say that you're not supportive of it, not supportive of the government that you benefit from, is problematic. That's just problematic for me.
Why I feel, or I said that he's a failure, because I cannot give more moral weight to him extending my passport validity, which I just did earlier today, than the 20,000 dead.
All right.
Right?
I hear this a lot. The 20,000 people were killed in the drug war, and I'm not sure where people got that data and if that data is even accurate. This is really a controversial topic because whoever puts out the numbers there, that 20,000 people are killed, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if you're watching this and you have more information, I would really like to know. But based on how I listen to a lot of journalists and a lot of conversation about this, drug war, it's arguable that it's really 20,000 people. There are some na nakikiride lang dun sa drug war and who would go around, kill people, and would be tagged as well it's part of a drug war when it really isn't. And it's very tricky to just generalize that 20,000 people are killed because of the drug war. Or how sure are we that 20,000 are actually killed? I'm not minimizing, I'm not downplaying that it's wrong that people are dead because of drug war, but are we sure about the data that we're talking about? It's possible that in the drug war, what we call drug war, a lot of people who also have wrong intentions would ride along with that. At maraming mga kaso na narinig ko actually na, okay, riding in tandem, someone killed this and that, and okay, let's just put it in the drug war, so dagdag na lang natin sa number. These are crimes and they need to be solved. But to put all that 20,000 people who are dead and blame it on the president, that's just not fair. That's just not fair. There are many policemen who are corrupt. The government is corrupt in itself, and there are many people who have wrong intentions who are meddling with it. So it's not a personality problem. It's not a Duterte problem. It's a government, it's a society problem. Corruption is everywhere.
If we check the data, we can see it in everyday news.
If we check the data, we can see it in everyday news. How reliable is everyday news at this point? How reliable is media into painting the actual realities? How sure are we that everyday news is actually accurate? And it's actually completely true. I'm not saying they're lying all the time, but I cannot say they're truthful in all parts of it or that they're transparent in everything. Who are for the clicks and who are for the shares and who are for the reactions than for integrity and credibility. So if you check the data and your data is from everyday news, I'm not very sure. See, for an article to be shared, it has to have an interesting title. And sometimes that would have to mean twisting some statements here and there, twisting some words here and there to make it more interesting. And by doing that, you lessen the truthfulness of the article. And I've seen a lot of cases where people were interviewed and people were asked to say something on interview only for them to find out that later on when the video is published that it was altered and it was edited in such a way that what they were actually saying weren't expressed truthfully in the video, but rather has placed them in a position where they're questionable because of their statements. And if your data is from news like this, I'm not very sure if that's reliable.
Pero nagkaroon ba ng raid or may namin bang nahuli? May napatay ba sa BGC? Sa Makati? Sa mga exclusive village? I think wala.
Okay, you think wala. If your basis is what they put on the news, my friend, that's not a reflection of the reality. The news is an expression of what happens in reality, but it's not an accurate representation of what happens in reality. Meron bang na-raid sa BGC? I'm sure may mga nahuli dyan na may drugs. Meron bang na-raid sa exclusive villages? Yes, meron. I've seen the news also. And, the news talks about that. But the bigger reality is this. If it's not interesting enough, it won't be in the news.
Just to sort of shed light as well, not everything is on him. Sometimes it's also corruption. Sometimes it's also just plain greed.
Right.
And to just pin it all on one person, one singular person. I guess the only word I can think of is lazy. But I understand why it's so easy to just, because he's there. That's him. That's our president. Him.
But he's the guy that's giving the order.
I think that
Yeah, he's the guy who's giving orders, but that doesn't mean that he's the root of all the problem, corruption and wrongdoings in the government. You know, there's a lot of people in the government, a lot. And if you're a president, you can only manage so much. Meron na ba kayong kilala na lahat ng sinabi niya ay sinunod down to the last point at walang nagkamali at walang nalito at walang hindi nakaintindi? Lahat mabuti lang. Sana ganun yung mundo eh. So I'm not taking away the fault from him, but I'm saying it's not just him.
What do we think of senatorial candidates who have been accused in the past or have been tried for graft and corruption and plunder who are now ranking highly in senatorial?
How does my favorite boxer make his way to the Senate? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, how is it possible that Mr. Bong Revilla, who would not be able to qualify for any kind of corporate job, finds his way to
As a
leading the
senator.
senatorial race?
Okay, mga pare, kalma lang tayo sa mga statements. Una sa lahat, I don't have a problem with the boxer getting to the Senate if he's competent and if he really studied hard for it. Or maybe if he didn't have all the educational qualifications or educational standards that we should have for a senator, at least he's studying right now. He's studying and he's really working hard to help people. Sana huwag natin discriminate na porket boksingero siya ay hindi na siya pwedeng maging senador. Ba't naman hindi? I mean, who are we to say na okay, boksingero ka lang, hindi ka pwedeng maging senador ha? If you have the heart for people, and kung kunyari hindi ka educated, pero pag-aaralan mo, pag-ihirapan mo, then go ahead, do it. I would vote for a guy like that. If his heart is really to help the Filipino people, why not? So please, easy lang tayo sa mga ganyang comments kasi yan ang hirap eh. Magko-comment tayo ng ganyan, no? Na boksingero, naging senador. I don't get that. That's ridiculous. Why is it ridiculous? So wala na silang chance porket boksingero sila or porket artista sila, hindi na sila pwedeng mag-senador. If they're competent or at least they want to work hard for it and if they earn the trust of the people, if their heart is to serve people, why won't we give them a chance? I think ang problematic is kung boksingero siya, he's a lame senator, at wala siyang natulungan, but he just wants the position. Mas may problema ako sa matalino nga, nag-aral nga ng batas, qualified nga, maraming alam. Pero ang puso naman ay para sa self-interest at hindi para sa interest ng Filipino people. I have a problem with that. See, it's not just purely about credentials, it's not just purely about education, although that's important. It's not just purely about your abilities, but it's also about your willingness to help the people. Kasi marami may abilidad pero wala naman talagang pusong maglingkod. And that's something that you need to look out for sa lahat ng mga magsisilbi. Leadership is about service first and foremost. It's not about your educational attainment or kung magaling ka bang mag-English dahil pinanganak kang konyo or can we be easy on the comments? Let's not discriminate them just because they're not as smart as you.
We have candidates like Jokno, Guto, and among others that we feel they rally the leader we want. And I guess the challenge for us, especially the youth, is to go out social media, to campaign, to fight ano ba yung Pilipinas na gusto natin.
And I disagree with this.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. That it's our job as youth to fight for the Philippines that we want. But you know what? I think the real power of this current generation isn't about picking certain people to change the world, but it's about changing the world ourselves. I think that as young people, if we lead with integrity, if we have faith, if we're excellent in what we do, that's what will change this society. It's not just a hand of people doing some magical things. I think it's every individual, every young Filipino, if we will decide to be responsible, if we will decide to have integrity in what we do, if we will decide to be excellent in what we do, and if we will decide to lead others to live the same way, then we can really make a change in our society. You know, the mistake here, I think, is seeing that certain leaders will shape the Philippines that we want. It's not that. It's mainly us. Tayo ang mag-shape ng Pilipinas na gusto natin. Hindi itong mga leader na to. Yes, they get to decide one way or the other, but ultimately the power is within us. And the change that has to happen, first and foremost, is within us. Because we can change ourselves. It is only us that we can change. It's not them. It's not about them. They can help, yes, but if we want real change in the society, it has to start from us, my friends.
Sorry. I feel like it's untrue na may youth vote kasi we have to acknowledge
So we're not
sa
even
sociology
registered.
of the youth na parang ang fragmented natin across regions, across class. I just came from Mindanao a few days ago. Hindi kilala yung Ocho Diretso. Hindi kilala si Jokno ng youth. So I feel like to insist and celebrate a youth vote at this point without nuancing na ang dami pa rin napag-iwanan, no? We're still repeating that same pattern of exclusions in the past. Ang hirap gumalaw, no? Nahihirapan ako gumalaw when we're holding on to an image of a youth vote that is so lacking in substance.
When we're holding on to an image of the youth vote that is so lacking in substance, I get what you're saying, but that's not the real picture of the Filipino youth. There are people like us, there are people like me. I could assure you that there are ultimately people like us who understand the picture of the government and are willing to do something about it. So to just say that the youth lacks in substance or their vote lacks in substance, again, it's a hasty generalization. And I hope that we stop doing that because let's just not generalize.
If you could fix one thing about the Philippines, what would it be? Seth.
Education.
Top of my head, our president's mouth.
Government.
Our attitude towards human rights.
You know, if there's one thing we could change in this country, that would be us. I think the best thing to change is us. Because if I change me and you change you, and we become an improved group of people, and if that improved group of people will influence other group of people to improve, and we all develop the love for our country, the love for other people, the love for God, the love for our families, the love for our friends, then I think Philippines will be a much better place. This is not to say that the government should not improve or change, but just a question, who do you think are the people in government? Tao din sila. Parehas lang nila tayo. We're all struggling with lying, we're all struggling with pride, we're all struggling with insecurity. You want the government to change? Definitely people should change. And the sad news is that we can't change other people. We can only change ourselves. I'll change myself. And I'll love this country more. And di ako gagamit ng plastic masyado. Hindi ako magtatapon ng basura kung saan-saan. Susunod ako sa traffic light. Hindi ako lalabas pag coding yung kotse ko. Things like that. Maybe that's where I would start. I respect everyone and I'm not attacking anyone personally. I think you can all agree to disagree. The same way that they want their opinions to be respected, then I hope that the same people will respect and accept my own stand on the issues of the government. I think it's actually nice to create an atmosphere or an avenue for people to really speak their minds and really give their opinions, because this video is not reflective of the situation of the entire Philippines. Not everyone thinks this way. We have different opinions and I'm just a small voice, but I'm speaking out. I, for one, am saying that's not the entire picture of young people in the Philippines. There are Filipinos who are appreciative of the government. There are Filipinos who are, yes, criticizing the government, but also praying and supporting that our government would hold it together and that integrity and excellence and truthfulness will prevail in our government, in our justice system, and in all areas of our society. And I think we need to speak out more. So, I don't mean to offend anyone. Kung may nasaktan man po ako, I'm sorry, hindi ko po intensyon na manakit or maka-offend ng mga tao. Intention ko lamang po ay mag-express ng aking opinion tungkol po sa mga bagay na to. God bless you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.